I forgot I have to hit record. That's what happened there.
Yeah, you gotta push the button that makes the podcast happen.
Hey, I pressed the big red button. Don't worry. I think we're all about to become heartless.
Mr. Mejia.
Oh gosh. All right. Hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Stray Pixels podcast. Normally I would put a joke here, but honestly, we all know why we're here.
Poggers! I'm pogging.
We all know why we're here. And it's kind of funny because up until literally this morning, I was despairing for a podcast topic for this week. I was like, I really don't think that we're going to get something too huge. I don't know if it's going to happen on like the first day of whatever this is. Boy, did I wake up to some news. My name is Colin. I am your host. As usual, I'm a staff writer at Noisy Pixel News, and I am joined as usual by my fellow staff writer Nathan Mejia and our editor-in-chief Bailey C. Mangle. Aside from this morning, how are you guys doing this week?
I'll let Bailey go first, as this is his moment to shine.
I've been up for the past like almost 40 hours, man. I'm fucking running off the rails right now, bro. I'm going crazy right now.
Yeah.
If Bailey passes out in the middle of the podcast, we will keep going.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's the only human thing to do.
You have
the Christian thing.
It is our duty as content creators.
Yeah, man. We're all content men.
Yeah, man. I can't wait till the day one of us gets canceled and people look back on this footage to find something even more incriminating on us.
It's okay. They'll find Azario way before they find us. Way before they find us.
I'm sure people will notice the sound, and I sound different. And if I decide to leave that bit in the beginning, that I forgot how to start podcast.
Nate's entering his next puberty. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. My balls are dropping. My voice is dropping.
Nice, man.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Just immediately.
Yeah. It's the puberty jokes, man. My hair looks okay, but overall this week I've been pretty okay. I found out Bailey pulled his first all-nighter ever last night, and I was shocked.
Our baby boy is all grown up.
Yeah, we don't even believe he was a college graduate.
I just lost my all-nighter virginity. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's not that spectacular, is it?
Not really.
No, you're just really tired the next day, and you're like, oh, I mean, okay.
I'm gonna sleep right after this fucking podcast is done.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna rip this Band-Aid off. All of you guys listening and watching, if you are not already very familiar with Kingdom Hearts, this episode is probably not going to make any damn sense to you, but I'm going to do my very best to try and keep it relatively explained. But I mean, 20 years of games, it can be kind of hard to keep track of everything that someone who's listening in for the first time doesn't know. I find it hard to believe that any of you wouldn't know anything about these games. So I'm not going to, do the write your essay as if it was a 5-year-old reading it type deal. But I'm going to do my best to, anytime we bring up something about the mobile game, at the very least, give an explanation. So we are recording this on Sunday, April 10th. This morning, at what was 6 a.m. my time, a 7-minute YouTube video dropped, and it contained two very important things. The first of which was the announcement of a brand new Kingdom Hearts mobile game called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. It basically looks like, I don't want to say Genshin because it almost doesn't really look like Genshin, and Genshin can't be played in portrait mode. It looks more like Tales of Luminaria to me in that regard.
Well, I heard that Missing Link is supposed to go from portrait to landscape, so you can.
That's possible. That's fair. it does look like it's going to be a gacha game. We saw in the trailer that there were like little statues popping up behind the main character of the cast from the other games doing their moves. So I'm like, oh, okay, so you pulled the moves the same way that you did in Union Cross, but it's a more actiony game like the regular franchises, because that's a thing you can actually do on mobile now. And then the second, the big kahuna.
Dark Road 2, baby.
Dark Road 2.
Dark Road 2. Kingdom Hearts 4. I was really surprised. I almost put money last night that we were not actually going to see Kingdom Hearts 4. I thought we were going to see a couple of other spin-offs first. I'm actually kind of sad we didn't get that, but man, this was the shot heard around the weeb world.
Yeah.
Right now, Sora was the top trending topic on Twitter, with almost 100,000 tweets.
Bro, the feet game was unreal today.
I can't believe just right away, feet. Just immediately.
Bro, it's
they don't even make you wait
2022.
for it. It's just right there.
It's 2022. We have an Elden Ring account that tells you all the feet that you can see in Elden Ring.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god.
More importantly, Sora wears normal shoes now.
Boggers, he's got fucking Jordans, man.
I wonder if that's to simplify that he's gone into the afterlife now.
Well, he's in our world, Nathan.
Yeah.
So we're gonna dissect this obviously a lot more, but we're gonna do that in the second half of this episode, because there was a lot of other stuff that got announced, and boy was Bailey there to cover every single moment of it.
Yeah, it was.
So I am going to let him take the lead for the first half of this episode.
All right. So last night is when the event began. So at 1 a.m. my time. So for those who aren't aware, this whole event happened in person in Japan, in Tokyo. And the whole event lasted, I believe, like 6 hours long. So for the first 3 hours, the people there were able to walk around the whole like venue and like see a bunch of like cool stuff. Nothing really too notable to talk about here. There's just like a bunch of merch. There was original art by Nomura there that people weren't allowed to like take photos of or talk about. Though it got like, so it did get like that there was some like really old art of like Sora, of like Zack from Crisis Core, from Cloud, like all these like old characters that of like really like old art that he has not used. But aside from that, it was just like a bunch of merch. And then 4 a.m. EST is when the event began, and people were not allowed to like take fucking like photos or videos or tweets during the event, but people still tweeted. So at around like,
of course they did. You can't trust people not to tweet.
I'd say like around like 2.5 hours or so in the stage show, there was this one person, this one Japanese Twitter account that just took KH4 all caps exclamation point, and people were fucking losing their goddamn minds, right? And then at 7 a.m. on the dot, when the event was done, the whole trailer dropped, which revealed the whole Dark Road delay for the 4th time. Missing Link, Missing Link, I have to clarify, it's actually more akin to Pokemon Go than it is like to Genshin and stuff. They haven't gotten, so we actually, for the other site that I write for, so this whole thing is a mess, to be honest with you. So at the event, they had a whole like Q&A session, right? And this info has not been officially translated, but a bunch of fans who were there wrote down the questions, right? And they fucking sent it on Twitter. And then the rest of us have like translated and share what has been said, right? So for Missing Link, this is a new mobile game. It takes place between the finale of Union Cross and the start of Dark Road. So during that whole interim period, where Scala was still very prominent in that weird like gothic style, a maximum of 6 players are able to play together. You are able to, as you guys said, you can switch between the portrait and landscape modes. A statement here says that it promises to have action elements that are very faithful to the main series. That's very questionable. Probably not going to be the case.
Yeah, we kind of saw some of the combat in the trailer. It looks a
Yeah.
little crunchier. Like obviously it's really hard to replicate controller like fluid movement on a phone. As you can tell from basically any game that tries it, like it's so much easier to play Genshin with a controller than it is to do it with the touchscreen controls. But
And not only that, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the buildings looked more compacted, and the character model itself looked like it's almost oversized.
I saw some people say it's kind of like a PS3.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, you know, we're obviously used to we're used to now the cutting edge like way that KH3 looked in Unreal
Yeah.
Engine 4. And now kind of going back down to it, this is probably what vaguely what a UE3 Kingdom Hearts game would have looked like. They never actually made one. But because that's like basically what we can accomplish on mobile now.
Yeah.
It looks about like a 7th generation console game.
Okay.
Phones are freaking powerful, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yes, your phone can now do as much as a 15-year-old video game console could.
Yo, I can play
Hey.
KH4 on my phone.
You know what that means? We can now install Linux on our computers, on our phones.
Nate being a nerd, man. They hate to see it.
Is
Bro, you don't
that an
understand.
other OS reference?
It is.
Oh my god.
Oh, Nathan.
Oh my god. Bailey doesn't even know what we're freaking
I don't
talking
want to
about.
talk. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so
pretend
just
that I
to
know what you're talking about.
explain this without going on a massive tangent, when the PS3 originally launched, there was a feature called Other OS that would basically enable you to install a full Linux build on your PS3. It was patched out because people were using it for kernel exploits and piracy.
That's kind of Monka W. Yeah.
Because Linux, there's a super thing where you get root user access. That's it. You could do whatever the hell you want.
So that's what that's a reference to.
That's what that's a reference to. Yeah.
That's a nice fucking lore. Yeah, just dropped on me.
So the characters like walking around in the environment until combat starts, is that going to be analogous to a person walking around in real life?
Good thing you pointed out, Colin. So one of the things they made sure to point out here is that they haven't said how yet exactly, but there are ways to play it and progress without having to walk around in real life. They haven't said how yet, but it's going to be a thing you could do.
That's really important now, especially as we're seeing like Pokemon Go slowly moving back towards, or trying to move back towards, its pre-pandemic gameplay style, basically, and people are fighting them on it because basically what ended up happening was they made a bunch of quality of life improvements that people are not wanting to let go of, and it's kind of taught us all that like, hey, it would be really cool if anyone could play, a game like this, and not just people that can go outside and walk around whenever they want to.
Yeah. It's always nice to have the option,
It's kind of funny though, because before we knew all this, we were in a voice call this morning, me, Bailey, and our senior editor Jacob, and I literally said when the real world adventures thing was said, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Oh, it's Kingdom Hearts Go," and I had no idea that I was even vaguely right.
I thought you were just spouting bullshit.
I was memeing.
You were correct all along, man.
Arxtradamus.
Yeah.
So is it going to be like I mean I'm asking you these questions as if you know everything, but like, did they say anything about like, real world locations corresponding to anything in the game?
They didn't really discuss like how the mechanics will work or anything. You just kind of saw this like weird like spectacle video in the trailer. There's gonna be a closed beta in the fall. No exact date yet or like how to apply, but it's coming this year. So
I mean, obviously we're all hoping that our cushy little site can get us into this thing.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Gotta get Azari to throw his clout around, man.
Yeah, yeah, they literally forgot about us when Endwalker came around, but maybe we can get closed beta going.
Yo,
They forgot we were here.
feels bad, man.
It truly, truly
But
does.
yo, our site is like half Kingdom Hearts though, so I think we'll be good, man.
Maybe.
A lot of material. Hmm.
Sorry, go ahead if you had
No,
something
no,
you wanted to.
that's kind of it for that. Like they just like they didn't really discuss too much of Missing Link yet. I presume like maybe like late summer, so they'll go into more detail about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is already kind of rough because like normally we'd be like, oh, we'll probably see more at E3, but as we discussed last week, that's not going to happen. So honestly, I kind of wonder like if they were potentially planning on holding off this reveal. But I don't know, pure speculation. That's probably not possible.
Honestly,
yeah.
I was gonna say I feel like the synergy for it being now was too high for corporate marketing to pass up in favor of E3.
Yeah.
All right. And the much bigger and probably more well received announcement.
Dark Road.
Dark Road 2, baby.
You already made that joke.
Yeah, I can make it again.
Okay, yes. Now you have to make it a third time towards the end of the episode.
Come on,
rules of threes. You get comedy.
Yes, you set it up, you remind the audience, and then you pay it off at the end. So Kingdom Hearts 4. What we saw Sora waking up in an apartment in Quadratum. Strelitzia is there. I'm gonna get into the significance of that in the second half of the episode.
Yeah.
And she tells him that he's been asleep for 7 days, as all of the World Ends With You fans watching the stream just pog out of their goddamn minds over the phrase 7 days. She tells him he's been asleep for 7 days, and then there's a dark side attack outside, and it looks very similar to the KH4 reveal trailer, just in a big old city.
Yeah.
And things that were taken from this were: number 1, Strelitzia is there; number 2, Sora feet; and number 3, he wears regular shoes now.
Buggers.
My sort of take on, because his character design is extremely different from how we saw it last. It's kind of just another step in the road of, as this series has gone in a more realistic art direction, they just kind of have to de-exaggerate his character design, because like imagine this version of Sora, but with like an attempt at rendering his Kingdom Hearts 2 haircut. Like it would look goofy and not like his friend Goofy. It would look very, very silly and be distracting for the whole game. Some of them I think might survive because you can kind of just tone them down a little bit. I think I think that if they were to I have no proof of this, but if they were to show Axel and Roxas largely didn't change in Kingdom Hearts 3. And those are the other like super anime hairstyles that we have running around. And we don't know what Kairi is going to look like yet, because it's going to depend on what Utada Hikaru's hair looks like.
Yeah, her hairstyle. It's going to be like, I don't know.
Bro, Kairi is going to be in a tracksuit.
Kairi is going to be in a tracksuit and use they them pronouns, and everyone is just going to be fucking cool with it, you guys.
And then she's actually in a relationship with Yuffie the entire time.
We stand so hard.
Real plot twist. So like it's kind of funny. So even though this is going to be coming out God knows when, there's a lot more info on this they release than Missing Link. So probably the most viral thing here is that this trailer was. So this whole thing was played out in Unreal 4, but the game is going to transition to Unreal 5 for development. It kind of like it looked really fucking good. I thought it was already 5, but nope, it's still 4.
This kind of like, sorry to interrupt you, but this is sort of something that I've been thinking about for a while, is this announcement of the engine move that tells me that porting up from 4 to 5 must be like a pretty simple task.
Yeah,
I would hope so, because usually when I hear that, I go, what happened?
Yeah. We, especially as like people that pay attention in the industry, are trained to interpret the phrase engine switch as a, oh God, this is going to be an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
Duke Nukem Forever switched engines like 6 times over the course of its development.
Yeah. Like,
but
insane amounts.
if this is going to be a smooth transition, then that makes me hopeful for all these other companies that are probably looking to pull similar moves. And good on Epic for making it that simple. I don't praise Epic very often.
Colin's favorite company.
And I'm gonna get into another matter sort of related to that after we talk about merch.
Oh God, the
merch.
God, Colin wants to talk about the fucking merchandise. All right, so we got like way too much merchandise. I spent like 5 hours writing all this shit. So we got a bath towel and a face towel with the Kingdom Hearts anniversary logo on it. Pretty poggers. We got some watches, some rings, some fucking like jewelry. Pretty poggers.
I want it. I got it. I want it.
We got probably the coolest looking merch. So they have these like wine glasses, and like these like shot glasses with like with like the symbols of the game. So like the crown and like Mickey said, looks pretty cool. There's the biggest piece of the biggest piece of merch is a keyblade that lights up. And I think
I'm sure it'll be like 2,000 USD.
Hey, that
all
would
of
be
this
pretty.
all this merch is pretty absurdly priced. So this light up keyblade costs, oh my God, 6,380 yen.
Oh, that's not much.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
That's completely reasonable.
Okay.
That ends up being 120 after getting over here and importing.
Hang on, 6,380.
That should be around $70, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, well, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah, and with that pricing, to import it here usually will end up being around $100. I know this because I import Kamen Rider toys.
Oh, it's actually closer to 50.
Oh wow, that's a shockingly well priced.
Yeah, the yen has been doing worse than the dollar.
Oh, feels bad.
For a while. But that's pretty shockingly reasonable. The thing that excites me about all of this merch is it's really nice to see that a franchise that was like obviously really heavily marketed towards kids, with all the Disney movie stuff, is putting out like merchandise that signals that it's growing up with the fan base. Because like all the people that grew up playing the series from the beginning are now old enough to want, nice watches and wine glasses and actual glasses, and it's kind of a cool sign.
Does that mean we'll get Sora karaoke in a karaoke bar?
Oh God.
Just one step closer to the Yakuza Kingdom Hearts crossover we needed.
What if he sings fucking Italy? When he thinks about you see like a photo.
Hey Square, I know you're not watching, but if you're listening, please DM me and send me a Roxas plush, please. Okay, thanks, bye.
Oh yeah, so excellent segue, Colin. They announced a new Roxas and Nominate plush. They look the way you'd expect them to. Probably the strangest thing that was announced is, so I've never heard of this brand before, but this Japanese fashion brand called Samantha the Vasa is going to be collabing with Kingdom Hearts for its anniversary. No new images were shown. They're going to be doing something, I don't know, but they're doing that. Bunch of t-shirts, a bunch of plates with the Stations of Awakening on them. And then
Honestly, I would happily take, like fashion items and stuff like that. Like they'd be premiumly priced, but like it's also really cool
yeah.
to see stuff that's inspired by like the aesthetic of, something you really like that isn't just a big old print t-shirt.
Yeah.
yeah, like I think kind of the hard thing about like merch for like games and like other media is like making sure it's not like super overt, like because it could be kind of weird to like wear like some like really like flashy thing.
Some of the nicer stuff that I found that already exists is I have Roxas's necklace. I'm not wearing it right now, but I've found it at a game store a million years ago, and it's one of those things where it doesn't scream what it is, but if you know what it is, you can identify it immediately.
Yeah. I have a friend who has Roxas's finger bands and wristband.
I used to have the wristband. I lost it at some point.
Yeah.
Those always weirded me out. When I saw it, I was like, what the hell is wrong with him? Engaged when he was wearing those.
And then we also got new play arts figures, right?
Yeah, so we got Sora, Riku, Kairi. They're similar to like older ones, but these ones are a lot more refined. The Kairi one is probably the biggest change because so like she has one figure now, but it's like super fucking small. This one is like actually like normal size, so she doesn't look like a fucking midget.
Oh wow, Kyrie is actually being turned into a real character.
Poggers. Sora's is pretty interesting because it comes with 3 keyblades. So it comes with the Kingdom Key, Star Seeker, and the Ultima weapon for some reason.
Oh,
that's pretty cool. Let's see. I think that's kind of it for merch, I believe.
That's weird because canonically, the Kingdom Key is the only keyblade Sora uses canonically.
No, I mean,
no, not true.
Not true.
Because when he does his forms, which he does use in canon, he has to use other keyblades.
That's right.
And I believe doesn't he use Oathkeeper in canon at some point? And I believe he also uses Shooting Star at least once.
It's weird.
He uses Shooting Star in the Big Hero 6 world when he's doing like the training with the guys there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think he ever uses Oathkeeper like explicitly.
Yeah, it's funny.
I feel like he does in KH1, but I might be.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Oathkeeper more to Roxas now than to Sora.
Yeah, even though the keychain is the Wayfinder that Kairi gave Sora.
Yeah.
The Hearts connections, man, they're fucking
wild. But I mean, specifically Oathkeeper and Oblivion like tend to shift in what they symbolize. So shrug. But anyway, anything else that we want to discuss in terms of a recap?
So there is some KH4 stuff we didn't talk about. Just like so the new logo was a big point of contention. So there is a stated reason for it. The logo style has been changed because they're done with the Seekers of Darkness saga.
Yeah.
So it's a bit weird because you have like the new Missing Link, and like Melody of like Memory and Remind, and they're all part of the same phase. Like they're all part of phase 2, and they all kind of look like the older logo. So I don't know why this one's so different, but I don't dislike it. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
What concerns me here is that if we do go back and make more games that take place before Kingdom Hearts 4, are we going to keep switching back and forth between it seems like a silly reason to change the logo as much as they have, frankly, because I think that specifically the Kingdom Hearts logo has such strong branding at this point.
It does, yeah.
That the large reaction to the KH4 logo is it's different. I don't like it.
Kind of cringe.
We don't like it. I don't know why we decided to change it. It honestly looks more generic to me now than it did before. we'll have to see, because the art direction's going obviously in a much less stylized,
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
Oh, okay.
we'll
Now
have to
I
see.
see it. Yeah, I didn't actually see that logo change much
It looks
before.
odd.
Live reaction.
It does kind of stick out though. Also, like I wouldn't be surprised if they even modeled Sora off of his Japanese voice actor, because he looks very, very different now.
Yeah,
Yes, he looks much more like a Final Fantasy, like a modern day Final Fantasy character than he did before.
Yeah. Also very distinctly Asian, which was why I said I think he's modeled off of a voice actor now.
I hadn't picked up on that, but
that's
I'm also a
point.
white person who shouldn't observe those things. So,
And I'm Hispanic, so all bets are off. Hard R's coming through.
Oh, Nathan, we're not as Aria, man. We can't afford that.
But yeah, why? I clicked the Sora picture. Why did it take me to about?
Anyway, anything else from KH4 before we wrap up the first half of this episode?
I guess the last thing worth noting. So there was a bit of like mistranslations happening like at this point, but so apparently Nomura was unsure if he wanted to call this game KH4 or Verum Rex, but he stuck with 4. But he chose KH4 because he thought if he went with Verum Rex, it wouldn't overtly connect to Sora with the marketing. So he stuck with KH4, which is kind of, I guess they're interchangeable, those like 2 names, I guess.
Do you mind if I wildly speculate on something?
Go ahead.
So we have already seen Kingdom Hearts 3D.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that the 3D did stand for something. Yeah. But it does not escape my notice that if it was Kingdom Hearts Verum Rex, it would be Kingdom Hearts VR.
PlayStation 2 synergy. No, PlayStation VR 2 synergy right there.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah. And to be clear, if you didn't know this, there is a Kingdom Hearts VR app on PSVR exclusively. It's basically just a little Keyblade, swing-in mini adventure. I think it's like a half an hour or something like that. So there does already exist VR content for Kingdom Hearts, but as the install base for VR expands, which it's been doing for the last couple of years now, there is a possibility that they might want to actually make a VR game. So saving the initialism of KHVR is something that they might have factored in as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot about VRM Rex specifically that I could see would lend itself well to VR, especially the freaking mechs. I could see it now.
I would also sort of feel like calling it Kingdom Hearts VRM Rex would be like super duper lockout for anybody that had not played 3.
Yeah.
And if they're going to do like this much of a reboot, then the onus is on them to make sure that new people could start here theoretically. Yeah. And I feel like tying it back to a reference like that really only popped up in one world of KH3 might be tying it a little too weirdly, especially when that's going to be the branding of the game and it's going to be what's on the box. That might be a little questionable. Also, Verum Rex, we don't know if the name has deeper significance beyond it, the name of the video game that Yuzora comes from. So I don't know. I think that it was a good call to just make it KH4.
Yeah, I think it was a lot safer that way. Yeah.
No, it was a lot safer, especially since you hear Verum Rex and any fan will go, "Oh, that's the Yuzora game." 100%, that's the Yuzora game.
Yeah.
So,
but if you're not a fan, they go, Kingdom Hearts Dinosaur? I don't know what this is.
Dinosaur.
I don't know what this is.
You know what? I just want Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt is gonna voice Riku in Unreality.
Okay, and on that.
Can't wait for the Kingdom Hearts movie to be announced.
Oh my gosh.
Disney Plus.
Yo, let's go.
we will be right back. In the second half of this episode, we're going to speculate wildly about what the hell all of this might mean. So look forward to that, because it's going to get just completely incomprehensible if you're not a really shameless nerd. And we will see you then. Be
Let's
right
jump
back.
to conclusions, boys.
Welcome back, everybody. So in the first half of this episode, we kind of gave a recap of everything that was announced at the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary event. And in this half, we are going to do a lot of speculation, basically, because I think that we've all been playing around with this in our heads for pretty much the entire day. I'm going to start with a fairly obvious observation. The Lost Master arc almost certainly refers to the search for the Master of Masters, who is, if you guys don't know, basically the engineer of the first Keyblade War. He is the greater scope villain of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, who basically played all of the other masters against each other through his manipulation. Basically, he gave all of them a book that he said would predict the future, and in trying to fight each other, they essentially made it all happen. Because he told them that one of them was gonna be a traitor, and it wasn't true.
Monk it up, you man.
A very Jesus of Nazareth move right there.
My God.
So this was more or less hinted at by the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, which sees Lushu basically unmasking himself as the person that we now know as Braig / Zigbar. When before he had basically had his hood up the entire time that we had seen him, including in Union Cross. So this unmasking applied to him, but not to the person who he serves, who is also the original owner of the Evil Eye Keyblade, for which he's basically been watching everything that's been happening the entire time.
Yeah.
Because a plot twist so nice we used it twice.
Yeah.
It's a really good plot point.
We already had that we already had something very similar with the Recusant sigil, the X that's been on everybody's outfits the entire time. But what do you guys think about the Master of Masters? Is it going to be someone we're already familiar with? Is it going to be someone new?
I feel like there's an I just don't want it to be Demix. That's like the one thing I do not want. Other than that, I'm kind of fair game for anything, honestly. Like, even if he's Sora, I think that's kind of poggers.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the Master of Masters is instead going to end up have already been dead or completely gone. Like, he is much more of an ideal now rather than an actual person anymore. There was a video that Bailey showed me that said his name could, like, one of the theorized his name would be like Light or something like that.
Oh yeah, from Sunny Novus.
Yeah. And it could be that he has instead become the embodiment of a virtue rather than an actual person that we're looking for anymore.
Because there are the darknesses, and they have their own kind of will when they talk on their own. Like, they have autonomy. It could be similar, but we don't really know. Like, because why would he be? Like, because why is there one talking?
And kind of leading into this, once we open up past the thing, we talk about the soul again, which has been in Kingdom Hearts before, but not really talked about fully. All we know is that the soul is basically a life force that keeps the body alive.
It's probably
not the heart.
I think it's
Not
most
the heart.
underexplained aspect of the series, because it's been a thing. I think KH4 or something. But
ever since the Secret Ansem files, yeah.
But it's just like vaguely mentioned, and it's like rarely ever detailed, if I recall correctly. I think KH3, when during the whole days like part in the Keyblade Graveyard, like with the Days trio, like Xemnas tells Axel like we don't need your heart or something, we just need your soul.
Yeah.
So there's some weird like overlap with those two. I don't know.
Yeah, there is, because from what we know all around it, nobody is a soul in a body. A heartless is a heart by itself, no body. And then there has been some places where they're only a soul, i.e., lingering will. No body, no heart, just a machine, essentially.
Yeah, his soul inhabiting his armor. In terms of what I think about how they might go about using this, I think that the least interesting thing that this series could possibly do is have another big bad in a black coat. I would really hope that after 20 years of that we can move on to
the white coats.
Honestly, like, sure. I think that it's pretty clear that the foretellers from Union Cross are going to play pretty heavily into KH4, if not be, the new villain squad. And they're not all wearing black coats. My personal preference for how they go about this twist is they pull a Dark Souls 2, where we get to the end and it turns out that whatever, we go the whole game without finding out what the deal is, and it turns out that effectively, even if he's still there physically, he does not have any will left to fight in him or something like that. His plans have lasted for such a long time that even he doesn't remember that he made them or something like that. That would be how I would go about it. But obviously, this is pure speculation based on almost entirely Kingdom Hearts back cover. That is most of where we saw the Master of Masters. But I mean, the other fun thing about him though is that he's got a much more distinct and seemingly easygoing personality than Xehanort does, because Xehanort's all business.
He's and really disturbing to me, the Master.
Almost, because he basically just acts like Axel. I don't think it's going to be Axel, but he's got very that casual, snarky kind of energy that Axel does, but he's the greater scope villain, so it's a little more unsettling when he just kind of casually explains oh yeah, I totally played all of you bastards and made sure that this giant conflict was going to happen exactly the way I wanted it to. And basically reset the universe.
I think the one thing I don't want to happen is that we find out the Master of Masters was doing this all for a quote unquote good reason, trying to save the world or trying to
I wouldn't be in favor of that.
I feel like that's kind of implied, isn't it? Because he's trying to because he's trying to combat the darkness, right? And he's doing it in a way that he thinks will.
So supposedly, yes.
I don't think he thinks it's good, but for a greater good, I guess.
Xehanort got a last second well-intentioned extremist twist that I didn't really like. That was kind of stupid.
I don't think it was last minute, was it? Where he
It was pretty last minute for comparatively to where he was mustache twirling essentially.
Where
he portion of the series.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, because his motive didn't really change. It was just his primary the way he just acted. His attitude changed.
Yeah, basically. But I don't know, with the villain, it is kind of notable that these games are now separated into which villain is the big bad in terms of where we are on the greater scope timeline. Because Xehanort was the Dark Seeker, and now we have the Lost Master. We all know where that's gonna go. but again,
This
this
is,
is wild speculation.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the most interested I've been in the main plot because it's because as of now it's a lot more gray.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because the foretellers aren't really like they're not bad. They're just very fucking gullible.
Well,
Yeah.
they do seem pretty clearly willing to follow Lushu at the end of
Mhm.
KH3. Like it was kind of notable because especially Ava seems like she should know better. So Ava was basically the one that got played the hardest.
Yeah.
Feels
To the
bad.
point where she thought that she was basically going to save everybody by establishing a sixth union, essentially, and did not work. Didn't avert the war. None of them made it out. So, but like, I don't know. We'll see. They're very interesting characters. I appreciate that. They're trying to do more interesting things with them than the organization where there was just too many of them to really have all of them like be meaningfully pieces of the plot all the time.
Yeah.
So if there is some conflicting motivation going on, I think that could be interesting. It would be neat to see in terms of like complexity of the bad guy, because I think that the series needs, number one, some consistency of the bad guy, but number two, a little bit more of a diversification.
Yeah.
Especially since, as it turns out, about half the bad guys in Kingdom Hearts 3 are the same person, and the other half are half the same person. So
It's great, man. Kingdom Hearts 3 is great.
Okay.
Especially since because going to kind of finish up on that point about how Kingdom Hearts is usually black and white. They try with Riku most notably to make darkness seem more like a tool that could be used however you want it to be, but they drop that really, really fast.
That's why I'm kind of really interested in the foretellers interacting with him and like Terra by extension, because they're not gonna like them. I think so in that trailer, the most shocking thing to me was by far Strelitzia.
Yeah.
Because Union Cross, she gets fucking killed after like 2 cutscenes, and then at the end, she's like in like a white robe, and no one knows what's happening with her. She's in like a fucking dream. I don't know what's happening with her, but it's like I think it's really fucking interesting to see her with Sora of all people. And I think it's kind of fitting because her whole thing in like Cross was like not having like friends. And so
which is of course interesting because she's like the nicest fucking person in the world.
Sora's like the best friend she could probably have, let's be honest.
So I've been kind of annoyed by this all day. This is really the one detail of the trailer that I'm just because for those of you who have not like been keeping up with Kingdom Hearts in real time, it's been like, I want to say almost 4 years of what happened to Strelitzia hanging over our heads. Like they keep sort of hinting, oh, she's not actually dead. She didn't get like actually killed. And they keep popping up characters that could be her, but then it turns out they're not her. The biggest example of which is the nameless star from the final world in Kingdom Hearts 3 was not Strelitzia. It was Stella, effectively. It was Yuzora's girlfriend. Is what we've pieced together. Stella being, of course, an import character from what would have been Versus 13. So to see her just kind of like to watch her reveal, and it's just like, oh, she's just here. She's just been here the whole time.
I kind of love that, to be honest with you.
Like it's so casual. There's no meaning. There's no meaning. There's no impact. It's just like, oh, the camera just cuts to her like 5 seconds into the reveal trail.
I think that's the impact, though, right? No, like to me, that's the whole shit. but like I get like I didn't really follow Phoenix Cross like super closely, you know, like I was like very much like an onlooker, so I don't have as much of like a attachment or you said like Stockholm syndrome to that game's plot.
And then of course, like the other big thing here is that if I remember correctly, Strelitzia is Marluxia's sister. Is Lauriam's sister. That is like one of that's Lauriam's big character motivator in the final act of Union Cross is trying to figure out the mystery of what happened to her, and it doesn't happen. It does not happen before the end of Union Cross, and it happens in this reveal trailer.
Let's go
with no fanfare. She's just there.
I kind of think that is probably the only way they could have done it, because I don't think with how much they set this up, there is no way they're going to make a reveal that was actually like really like oh my god. I think unless she was the master of masters, which
no, I reject this. I reject this.
You just take off the hood and it's fucking her with like a voice modifier or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think the line of dialogue that is probably most useless said by Strelitzia, but I'm going to keep holding on to in my head for some reason, is that she says, "This, you suppose this would be an afterworld for me and you."
I'm worried now. I'm worried that any character that's died, this series already had no
possibilities
in terms of character death, and now it's just like, oh, anyone that's been gone might just be here.
Wait, we're gonna see Clayton there.
Oh my god.
Real life Clayton.
Okay. I'm gonna use that as a segue. Nate, if you don't mind, I know it was technically your turn, but I'm gonna use that as a segue. So the phrasing of the way that Quadratum has been described is basically it's the setting of the game. So I'm kind of wondering if we know that there's still going to be Disney characters in it because Hades was in the trailer, but he's the only one. And part of that is probably just they're saving like the reveal of what at least characters are in the game for later, because that's always that's a huge, like we said in the Kingdom Hearts Stray Memories episode, that's like a huge Super Smash Brothers reveal thing that happens now, is what worlds are going to be in Kingdom Hearts. But my speculation is we're not going to see Disney worlds this time. If only because of the nature of the plane of existence that Sora now finds himself on, and the fact that they described Quadratum as being, a gigantic city that the player adventures through. That sounds like we're not going anywhere else, which I'm fine with, but wording is important here.
No, wording is very, very important. It's very telling that they went to go see Hades, God of the Dead.
Just like in Descendants 3.
I almost wonder if they're gonna like incorporate like Luca and these like other films that like deal with like death somehow, or they try to like use those like world's rules to find Sora. That'd be pretty cool.
Give me a Coco world. Give me a Coco world.
That would be really cool.
Oh my god, give it to me.
Here's
that would be
take.
Gorgeous.
What's your hot take, Nate?
Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to split up into two different sections.
Oh boy, here we go.
Sora sections, which is going to take place almost entirely in Quadratum, plus Riku, Kairi, whoever sections, trying to find Sora. Most of the game will take place in Sora's section, making that still the setting, while the underlying story of trying to find Sora is going to happen in the Riku, Kairi.
So you think it's going to be like KH3?
Essentially,
because that's basically how KH3 played out.
I guess the question is like, would there be gameplay for both sides, or would it just be a Sora thing? Because I
would say that to keep it simple, there might not be gameplay, but I would think they would put it in there, and the sections would be very similar to what Colin said, KH3, where you play certain very big events as different characters.
I think that if we go another whole game without playable Kairi, I think that people, they know, being dead serious, I think that they know that people are getting upset about it at this point.
Yeah, they definitely
because because they advertised Melody of Memory as Kyrie's game, and then in the end you're still not playing as her.
It's not only that though, but like when it comes to like merchandising and promotional material, Kyrie is very prominently used as like the fucking lead of the merchandise, like on the throne with Sora. So they clearly know the demand for her. It's just a matter of when or if that will happen. I think like now is the time where I think it's very probable, because this whole fucking trailer was off the rails from what I was ever expecting. So I think it's definitely possible for them to do a like Kyrie thing, but I just don't know when. It's gonna happen.
A lot of my hope just comes from, and I've been on the record saying this before, but I've never discussed it at length on the podcast. There's a huge need for better female representation in Kingdom Hearts in general, because this series has an extremely bad habit of using its female characters exclusively to drive the emotional stories of the male characters, to the point where all of them have been stuffed into a fridge at some point.
So we got
all of them.
We got Skulls, who's presumably Subject X, and she has the whole Lee and Isa plot. We have Strelicia with Lorium. We have Kyrie, obviously. Shion, question mark?
Stuffed into a fridge.
Yeah.
I guess okay.
She gets unpersoned at the end of days.
Then there's Aqua as well.
She does come back in 3.
No, wait, there's Larxene, baby.
So
I guess so, but like Larxene is Larxene is a villain. B, she gets like basically nothing until the end of KH3, when they're like, oh yeah, I guess we did want her to be like, you know, have more than one dimension to her.
Yeah.
She's not just snarky and mean.
I know what they're gonna do. Like her, so like her and Lorium, I guess, are gonna be because of Union Cross, presumably. So like at the end of KH3, when you beat Marluxia and he like fades, he implies that he's starting to recall his memories of Union Cross. Larxene, we don't fucking know if she always knew. Maybe she did. We don't know. But
and like obviously the other huge thing is Larxene is a very different person in Union Cross.
Yeah, she's very different. Elrena's very different.
Her personality is wildly different. And so I think that, you know, there's a lot to explore there potentially, of like how she became the person, because she's the only one that seems to undergo such a radical shift in personality upon being nobodied, and it's not just to do with being Norded, because she's already like this in Chain of Memories.
Yeah, she's already like that as a part of her introduction. The only other character that they kind of implied did a massive change was Syx, but they kind of walked that back. Especially when you see his person in Birth by Sleep.
They like watered him down a lot,
Yeah, because like in 2, Axel, or I think it's either 2 or 358 days, where Axel pretty much comments that Syx seems to have no emotions at all anymore.
So like no, it's not. So like in 2, I don't know how much they planned for him back in KH2 when he was first there, but in 2, like he was just fucking like rude. Like he did not give a shit about anyone. In Days, when they like very like slowly began to imply there was more to him, but he's like kind of a mess. I don't know.
But like when we see Issa, like he's kind of already dull surprise. So like it's clear that what Axel is talking about, like it's not a dramatic shift if you're not someone that's been friends with him for a long time. Because we don't see a whole lot of difference as the audience. We're just told that there is a lot of difference, and like I accept that because it's coming from a credible source. But that kind of brings me to the other big question mark in terms of the organization, who we did not see in this trailer, and that is Luxord.
Yo, Luxord, let's go, baby. He's Jack Garland.
So the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, I believe this scene is in there regardless of whether you beat Yozora or you don't know. Only if you won.
So you only see the driver if you beat him.
Okay. So it ends with Yozora being driven in a car in a very deliberate echo to the reveal trailer for Final Fantasy Versus 13, and the driver is Luxord. And we don't know if it is someone that just really coincidentally looks like Luxord.
It's him. It's him.
Because he doesn't speak, if I remember correctly.
No, he says very impressive. Is it not? That's what he says, and
you did this very recently. You would remember.
Yeah,
it's essentially identical to his what Luxord's voice is like.
So we don't know how he got. Did he actually die at some point? Because Kingdom Hearts 3 does not imply that he died. He actually tells Sora that they're going to meet up again, which we don't know if he's talking like he already knows what's going to happen in KH4, and maybe he's got his own gambit going on. It would be very him, but
he's, I think, the biggest mystery. So he gave Sora the wild card. God knows what that does. And he seems to be in some sort of servitude to Yozora or something. Like, people think he's like a butler or something to him. He's like the core to Noctis.
He lost a bet.
He lost a bet.
He lost it. That, honestly, wouldn't that be so him to just make a bet that okay, if I lose, I will serve you for all time.
That sounds like Luxord, bro.
He'd do it.
I fucking love Luxord, man. I don't know. Something about him just really fucking funny to me.
I think that so in KH2, he does not get a whole lot.
No.
But I think that he got they clearly did a lot to add it at least a second dimension to a lot of the undercharacterized organization members in KH3, and I think that he benefited really greatly from this because he went from just being oh, he's a guy that plays cards to daddy, basically. I don't know how else to say this.
Luxord.
I've never seen such an explosion of an alternative character interpretation, but he's by far the most courteous to Sora as a loser, and basically all of them take it pretty well. And you have to wonder, did he know that any of this was going to happen? We also don't know when that cutscene takes place, because we don't know if the fight against Yozora is canon.
So we don't know if it's in a dream is the thing. So when you beat, people dug into the fucking files of Remind. The ending where you beat him is tagged as the true end. And when you lose, it's tagged as the bad end. So presumably it is canon, but we don't know if we don't know. But
at the same time, those could just be developer terminology.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah.
Because the true end is obviously the one that the player is supposed to see before they're satisfied with having beaten the game, because it's the one that you see only if you beat him. So in a binary sense, one of them is the good end and one of them is the bad end, but we don't know when or if either of them actually happen. Especially
20 head idea.
Go for it.
20 head.
That's what we're here for.
Sora's sleeping for 7 days. He fought Yozora while he was sleeping for the 7 days.
So are you saying that the bad end is canon?
Would it be canon? Because if it were canon, then
I have an answer to this.
Okay. Come on, Nate.
Go, Nate.
I have an answer to this. So in those two cutscenes, you'll notice one is in day, one is at evening, implying different times of days completely. They're not set in the same time period. Yes.
So
when you lose, it's set in the evening. I'm pretty sure. And when you beat him, it's set in the morning.
Really?
I might have got it reversed. But yes, they are set in different days. It's different times of days.
Oh, I never noticed that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's very clear. I might show a small comparison picture when I'm editing. But what people are thinking, what I kind of internalize as well, is that they are both canon, because Yozora has been going in and fighting Sora over and over again until he wins. And that's when, presumably now, when Yozora gets taken to Quadratum, because Yozora pulled him in.
I don't know, because so like I mentioned earlier, Strelitzia emphasizes Sora has been in Quadratum for 7 days, which kind of implies that it's been 7 days since he died.
That's hard to say.
We don't know. We don't know anything. We don't know.
Because we don't know when Sora died either. We just know his heart was lost, trying to save Kyrie.
So like, so after fucking hearing in this out of fucking context. So after like Remind, where he saves her, and we don't know how long he's in the final world. We don't know if there's even like a measure of time there, to be honest with you. They're just kind of there. But because of how the whole Yozora thing plays out, we don't know if he's even actually there to begin with.
Yeah.
Like it might be some like spatial projection thing, but his body isn't there. Like it's clearly not there.
Well, because like I think that in terms of like the bonus content, we've always gotten, bonus content that was a teaser for the next game, but maybe wasn't meant to be interpreted as a literal thing that happens in canon. Like the biggest example, like I would potentially buy the Lingering Will fight, but I find it much harder to really place the unknown fight if it's supposed to be canon. So I think that if you follow the pattern, there's a good chance that it's not, but
yeah,
at the same time, we have no idea what's going on with this. We have no idea if Yozora is going to be, a sympathetic character, or if he's going to be a villain of some kind.
This is
because obviously he's supposed to have protagonist energy in the material that he is from, and as the original version of Noctis Lucis Kylum, but we don't know how much of Versus 13 has basically been rewritten, because you're not going to have a second whole protagonist character. Although my other theory for this is that we're going to see a lot less of Riku and a lot more of Yozora basically taking the Riku position as the deuteragonist.
Yeah, it's the official term. But yeah, I'm thinking that's also what's going to happen, is that he's going to take that position just a little bit more until, unfortunately, I feel like the original trio are just going to get phased out besides Sora.
Dylan Sprouse is going to come back though, bro. Our bro Dylan Sprouse. I want Cole Sprouse to come in and voice somebody just because.
There is so in terms of like how many of the old characters we're still going to see, that's so far up in the air that I honestly don't know how I would credibly speculate.
Because I don't know how you'd even use the Days Trio.
Exactly. No. People very obviously want to see more of them because they are arguably the most popular. But I don't know where you would fit them in here. They got kind of a pretty happy ending at the end of 3. And I've said before that I don't know if that means that they wouldn't want to jump back in and help Sora, especially given that, he went as far as he did to reunite them all. But I don't know how you work it into this plot, because if we are going like KH3, the plot of KH3 is structured so weirdly that the moments where you suddenly change perspectives are really jarring, and I think that they're kind of unpopular for that, because it's like, oh, suddenly the plot is happening 500 miles away, but not to Sora, to someone else.
My favorite scene when they have the fucking Xehanort lineage scene with Riku and Mickey. It just flashes through his whole life.
Okay. I think I've got it, but I have to start this wrap up now.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. So, well, unfortunately, we ran out of time on this episode. The three of us still ended up having more to say on predictions and speculation for the future of Kingdom Hearts. This content is being recorded for you guys and will be released through a special project Noisy Pixel is currently working on that will be made public very soon. So in the meantime, we want to thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Stray Pixels podcast. We post every Tuesday on your podcast app of choice and on the Noisy Pixel YouTube channel. What did you guys take away from the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal? Are you guys excited for Kingdom Hearts Missing Link? Who out of you has finished the Union Cross story or looked at the theater mode? We want to know. Tell us in the comments or tell us on Twitter. I am at the Arcane Ranger on Twitter. Nate is at Less Than Nathan, and Bailey is at Orpheus Joshua. Or you can talk to the site itself at Noisy Pixel News. Stray Pixels podcast is brought to you by Noisy Pixel. We work hard to bring you the latest news, reviews, previews, podcasts, and more. Please like, subscribe, and follow to keep up with our future content, and we will see you guys next week.